Hello and welcome. I am David Castro, and we are DiEM25, a radical political movement for Europe. And this is another live discussion with our coordinating team, bringing you subversive ideas you won't hear anywhere else. Tonight, we're honing in on the European elections and the European Parliament elections, I should say, happening from June 6th to June 9th. Europe stands at a decisive crossroads, with the far right on the rise and the establishment parties scrambling to deflect blame for our myriad crises. DiEM25 and our political parties, Meta25, are stepping up with a clear and urgent message. The establishment and the far right are two sides of the same corrupt coin, sustaining their power by feeding off each other's toxic energy. Europe is in the throes of a profound moral, political, and ethical crisis. Policies across our continent consistently favor a tiny elite, neglecting the many, both within our borders and beyond. This is evident in our prioritization of profit over people, the perpetuation of inequality, and the fueling of conflicts through arms sales, to name but a few issues. It's time for a seismic shift, a principled, humanist, and internationalist movement that can truly transform European politics. Our Meta25 parties in Germany, Greece, and Italy are contesting the European Parliament elections with a bold declaration: enough is enough. Vote for Meta25 so that we can annoy the hell out of those ruling Europe in the next 5 years. The people of Europe deserve much better, and we're here to show that change is real and lasting. But what do these European Union elections actually mean? And what exactly are we campaigning for? And why should you cast your vote for us? Tonight, our panel featuring Karen Dorigo, Federico Dolce, Nicholas Theokarakis, amongst many others, will dissect these critical issues and questions. And to you out there, if you've got thoughts, questions, rants, anything you want to express, anything to get off your chest, just put it in the YouTube chat and we'll put them to our panel. Now, let's kick it off with Karen Dorigo, our leading candidate in Germany with Meta25. Over to you, Karen.
Thank you, Davide. Thank you, everybody. And hello also to those watching us. Yeah, it's the last live stream before the election, so it's important that we express our last thoughts, because why are we running still? Many people are asking us. And well, actually, it's happening exactly what we were thinking about when DiEM25 was founded 10 years ago. So we are reaching these 10 years and Europe is exactly collapsing. This is what is happening. So we are at a real turning point, not only because of the structural problems that European Union has always had, but also because the challenges that we have faced in the last 5 years, basically, have changed completely our views on the world. So we need to rethink a new future. This is what we need to do now. Unfortunately, we cannot have the confidence of saying that a couple of measures will save us from the economic decline or from the climate change. We need really to take the future in our hands and in many sectors. So basically, what we want to do and what our priority is first of all, peace. Because without peace, we cannot live, basically. Peace, which means everybody has the right to live in a free condition, not being oppressed. We obviously, in Germany, have a particularly big task to reaffirm the right of people of being safe, of not being discriminated. We have to say loud no to the genocide, because this is the level we are in now. We need to say that people have the right not to be exploited in their jobs, that our planet has to be saved from ourselves. So people need to believe again in something new and something that doesn't come from the established party, because we saw what they did. We saw what they are doing everywhere in Europe. And this is why also Meta25 is special, because we are not nationalists. We are not based in one nation. We are based in Italy, in Greece. We are based in Sweden, and hopefully in many more countries. And it's only possible to achieve this goal if we work all together at the international level, which at the moment is European, but hopefully is going to be even broader in the future. So going back to the country I'm candidating for, which is Germany, I would like to express the concern that Germany has the most MEPs of all Europe. So the work that we have to do is exactly to try to influence the European Parliament by electing mostly leftist candidates, hopefully Mera, obviously, and in order to try to stop the shift to the right that is happening, and that it can influence all the rest of Europe in every aspect, not only on matter of racism, but also economically with austerity, which is coming. So I really think we have a big weight, a bigger responsibility on our shoulders, but we are determined to do it in any way we can. We're not scared of speaking up, and we showed it in the last months. We are not scared of standing for our values no matter what. And this is exactly what people are recognizing in us. And I really think that no matter what happens, people are with us and are going to make the right choice and to recognize the people who are just making propaganda for the election and who not. And by the way, I would like to make an announcement for those living in Germany, because many people do not know it. So it is possible already to vote. So please do not wait until the 9th. You can do it obviously per post, but you can also go to the Wahlamt, so the electoral office, every day of the week, according to your opening hours. But please do it. It is fundamental that you show your voice and that you fight in order to really create the basis for a different future. We need you.
Thank you, Karen. That's absolutely true, and thanks for making that point that people can actually vote already. You don't have to wait necessarily until the election day. So if you are able to do it, please do it. It's really important to make our voices heard. Now we're going to go over to Greece, and we're going to hear from Seraphim. Seraphim, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's great to be here, and I would like to start off by saying, expressing this idea that it's so inspiring to have an international meeting from people who are on the left and who are internationalists, who understand what Karen just mentioned, that we're waging a struggle which can only succeed if it becomes international. And I'd like to repeat the phrase you started with, enough is enough. This is the key slogan we're putting forth before this European election, because everybody knows, everybody understands that the EU in the present time is at an impasse. It's drifting into authoritarianism, into a war machine. It's become a nobody in the international arena, and this influences not just the institutions, but each and every individual country, each and every individual citizen. That is why it's important to go out and vote and continue with the struggle, which is just one key step along a struggle which is much broader and is going to continue over the years. Now, let me say a few things about the situation in Greece. Greece is a key country, obviously, because, it has been the country where contemporary neoliberalism tried its heaviest card. And now this austerity, which has been waged on the Greek people, is spreading all over Europe with these disastrous results for the European Union countries. Greece is also a key country because of the strength of the popular movement. Everybody knows that it was a very strong popular movement which managed to unseat an established bipartisan which lasted for over 4 decades and brought Syriza to power. But Greece is also known because of this famous kolotumba, as I'm sure you know the meaning of the term, is this about face, the collapse of the left, which has ushered into a period of disappointment, demoralization, sometimes despair. So in the present time, we appear to be having a right-wing hegemony, also coupled with elements of the far right. You know, people on the far right are serving already in the government. They don't need to get elected. But I want to underline that this hegemony is only apparent because it relies not on the strength of the right, on the fact that people believe in the ideas the right is putting forth, but on the weakness of the left. And I want to say a couple of things, a few things about the situation on the left in Greece, because I think that it may ring a familiar bell to other comrades in other countries as well. Now, in Greece, we have, I'd say, three left families. One is, I'd term it the pseudo-left, people who emerged from Syriza, have never admitted what they've done, and they're bordering the radical center, and they refuse to go away. This is an aspect which continues to demoralize time and again. The fact that they haven't disappeared makes people continue to abstain from politics. And it is a factor which we need to seriously deal with. A second family, a second strand on the left is a particularly strong neo-Stalinist left, the Communist Party, which proclaims lofty ideas but refuses to put them into practice, refuses to wage coordinated struggles which would help people see a visible alternative. All they say is that we need to sit back and wait for socialism. Until we have socialism, there's no point in waging struggles, coordinated struggles, escalating struggles that break out in order to bring reform. They fail to see, in other words, reform as a step towards more radical changes. And then we have the sectarian left. Several groups, if you've visited Greece, you're likely to meet up with them. They're very active, they're very vociferous, they speak loud, but they fail to coordinate, they fail to make a difference, and as a result, they're not visible to the larger public. And as a result of this failure of the left to present an alternative, we have the continuation of this right-wing hegemony, which, by the way, is not as strong as it appears because the government enjoys a 40% poll count, but it relies basically on the huge abstention. People refuse to participate because they are disappointed. Now, what we do, and this has been a long-term effort on our part, is to expose the government, give particular data, figures, explain how and why we're having this enormous dominance of a small group of oligarchs who are basically stealing the country and stealing off people's pockets. So we're exposing the government, and this plays an important role in our overall makeup and campaign. beyond that, we're also trying to expose the pseudo-left and the Stalinist party and try to explain why is it that what they're doing is not helping the movement make the turn. And finally, our biggest effort is to address social movement organizations, organizations on the far left, bring about a coordinated, make appeals so that we can sort of establish a visible presence in the struggles that break out, with a program, with clear perspectives, with concrete demands. And this is why we're beginning to have a larger appeal among the youth. As of lately, we had, a large movement breaking out in the universities against the privatization of young universities. We're having contacts in these movements. So our goal is to, in these European elections, have a good performance and use that as input in a longer-term struggle in order to create a viable left, a militant left with a clear program that will be able to address this crisis that, has befallen the country for such a long time. And I'm sure that to the extent that we do that, this is going to spread all over Europe once again. And let me finish by saying that once again, that this is an international struggle, and it is very important that we are an internationalist organization, talking to each other and drawing conclusions from each other's experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Serafim. Very important points made there. And I think one of them that I would like to just highlight before we go on to Federico Dolce from Italy is that indeed the struggle is international, and that's why we're an international movement with parties in different countries. We're also not under any illusions about the real power of the European Parliament, but I think it's really important to have people in there that can expose the lies of the establishment and beyond. So thanks very much for your contribution, and I hope you come back later as well with some other thoughts. Now we'll go over to Italy with one of our candidates there, Federico Dolce from Meta25 Italia. Federico.
Well said. Thanks, David. Thank you. Thanks, Karin. Thanks, everybody. Serafin, of course. But I want to start by thanking everybody, because this is for us, for many of us, a first attempt, the first time actually campaigning. And it's been, of course, up until now, extremely tiring, but also extremely exciting. But the support and love that we received from all the Italians abroad that are watching right now, probably, but also from all the from everybody else, from every European citizen, from every not European citizen that wrote to us to support us and to even to tell us that they didn't know about us and they're excited and they want to understand how to vote. Someone never voted before, or how it's working, because European election can be extremely complicated. And every country has its own way to vote, and it's a mess. And this has been overwhelming. This being something new, something that touched our hearts in a very unique way. And what we are doing, we are on the road. We are focusing on meeting people and meeting association. Some of them didn't know about us, and they were extremely impressed by the work that not just us Italian, but all the European DM has done so far. Or we are going into the university and speak with the students, speak with everybody who is tired and enraged by what we're seeing and what we are living, because the thing is that more and more people day by day are realizing that the two things are connected. What's happening all across the world, what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Ukraine, and what we are living here. Because as Karin has rightly said before, of course, enough is enough. And people are starting to sense that the people, the oligarch, the governments, the people who were in power when terrible things happened, they were in power when terrible things were still to happen, but they were setting the condition. They were preparing the field. They were not doing their job. Or maybe they were just doing their interest. But now the very same people are telling us, okay, no, we see it, we got the solution. No, you don't. And the more we go on, more people are not getting fooled anymore. They don't believe, they see the hypocrisy of the system. They see how literally a whole generation of politicians that went hand by hand with Putin now are completely hysterically denouncing him as a monster. What did he do up until then? The same people who silenced for decades what was happening in Palestine now suddenly realize, oh, settlers are violence, are a problem. Where are you up until now? Because people are educating themselves in a new way other than watching television. And the more we go on, the more I feel like we're starting to be part of one of those historical changes that we study on books or we see on the black and white television, like in the 68 or something epic, something that literally changed the course of history, because the lack of trust is at the top level ever. At least from my point of view, I never felt to be part of a so much larger movement of people who doesn't trust anymore the general media, the mainstream media, the government, or even their own representative. What we're facing is, of course, on one side, people in power, governments and journalists who are suddenly realize they don't have the grasp on our mind anymore, and they're flip-flopping a little bit in a very ridiculous way. Or a very serious, probably the greatest attempt of gatekeeping I've witnessed up until now. So again, representative and people who claim to be center-left, progressive, stuff like that, but they were complicit and active part of the path that led us where we are up until now. And they tell people, no, we're the real change. No, you're not. You haven't done enough. You haven't done shit. We just can't trust you anymore. On the other hand, we are part of an alliance here in Italy because we have very tremendous rules in order to participate into the election and be on the ballot. And that actually allows us to talk, to be very transversal, and to talk to people we wouldn't dream to get in touch with. And that's new. That's a very exciting feeling. Of course, we've met with Palestinian representative. I actually, well, just the last week, I had the chance to be introduced to the Palestinian representative in my town, and he hugged me so long and so strong and thanked me for what we're saying, what we're doing, and I was on the verge of bursting into tears because it was extremely moving. I was tired, I was sick because I got sick as well, but that's something that actually made everything we're doing worth it. But on the other hand, we're talking to moderate people, are conservative people, usually from a class point of view or from an age point of view, not our people. But they are tired too. They sense this detachment from reality that the media has. They sense it too. And I think that completely revolving the common sense in the past 6 months and aligning all the ONGs that we used to support as enemies or terrorist financiers really put us in a privileged position to show our citizen, European citizens, see they were nuts. They keep doing the same things every 5 years. They keep giving us the same medicine, and things are not going better. So it's up to us to convince them that we are the right choice. We know we are, and for once, I feel like we got a chance to do something important. We may not take control of the European Parliament, but even just electing a few good representatives, we saw what they can do. We saw in the past legislature what a bunch of good MMP can do to show the light on the hypocrisy and embarrass them and put them in a corner. And it's extremely important for us to believe in it. It's extremely important for us as citizens to have those representatives. And so that's why I urge everyone's watching to take up in arms and look up what they can do in order to put this stick in their wheel or put this stone in their shoes to actually bother in a way they can never imagine.
Thank you, Federico, for that call to action at the end there. You can actually, if you're watching, those of you watching, you can go to our website, dm25.org. At the very top, there's a EU elections button. If you click on that, you can check out all the political programs of our political parties in Italy, Greece, and Germany, and find out what it is that we're advocating for, besides what you're hearing today from some of our candidates. Just a quick comment from the chat that I wanted to highlight from Rishinand Parastram. I hope I said your name correctly. He said, I am happy that this is happening. Only a new world order can restore love and planetary sustainability. I am with you. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Now we'll go over to Johannes Fair, who's one of our candidates as well from MENA25 Germany. So over to you, Johannes.
Thank you. A pleasure to be with everyone tonight to talk over a real transnational European election campaign. Maybe a bit of more depth about how campaigning is actually done and what we are actually campaigning for, especially in Germany. In Germany, you are campaigning with putting up a lot of posters. At least you can, if you have the will and a bit of money to print them. You are allowed to put election posters in every street of the country. And that has been one of our focuses. So we have printed 4 posters with our main demands, and we have been hanging them in the thousands around the country. We don't have the money to pay people to put them up, so we were relying on hundreds of volunteers to do that. So that's actually also, if you out there are interested to help us, that's one way to do it. And what has been on these posters? First of all, we demand a green transition, but not the green transition that the Green Party in Germany is talking about. The green transition we want has to be paid by those people that have been actually profiting from the last crisis and got richer and richer. So one of our demands is green transition, but paid by the rich, by the super rich, by those people that could actually afford for us to be on the path to actually overcome the climate crisis and build a better tomorrow. So that's one of our goals. And I think we also, since 5 years already, have a very determined plan, our Green New Deal for Europe, where we have a great public investment plan that would make this green transition happen, and that actually also would talk about ownership of all the infrastructure we would be building with the investment, and to put it in the hands of the people and not the few as it is done at the moment. That's one cornerstone. On one more poster, it reads, universal basic income or universal living income, as we call it. That's just one of our policies that we put forward to tackle the imminent inflation and cost of living crisis that is very present for poor and young people, especially in Germany, and as I know, also in the other EU member states. That's one of our proposals to actually turn something around in everyday life of people. And we also, of course, have a very detailed plan on how to finance that. The next poster reads, human rights and not deportations. The German government, the Greens, the SPD, the Liberals have some time ago agreed to the new migration policy in the European Union. And it's a devastating step. It's actually AfD, the German right-wing party policies put into action by the extreme center. This is something that we are strongly against. This is one of our main claims and main values that we're running on, is that people are just people. And it doesn't matter if you are from Germany or any other country in the world. For us, you are the same, you are equal. And that's like in this policy, we fight for just to end the mass deportations that are happening as we speak from Europe, and also to stop the drowning and the many people who have been killed in the Mediterranean every year, and to do that, of course, in a transnational way, in a solidarity way, where people across Europe work together to solve this. And then by the public, unfortunately, most controversially looked at poster reads simply "Free Palestine." And this is something that really has set us apart in Germany from all the other parties who have put up a significant amount of posters. And it is really, really strange. Of course, many of you know, and we have talked about this in the past live streams, that the atmosphere in Germany is as such that in the public media, in the establishment parties, even in the so-called left parties that we have, Palestinian lives and Palestinian people are just not looked at equally. And that's something that we are doing differently. And we are receiving a lot of support, lots of new members, lots of people that want to help us putting up these posters to do something against this general atmosphere that the media and the establishment in Germany is spreading, that atmosphere of everyone supporting freedom for Palestine being supposedly some Islamist or some anti-Semite, as they call us. We, of course, do this together with our Jewish and Arab friends, as it should be. And it has been, on the one side, brought us a lot of support, but on the other hand, also, we have seen the craziest things in terms of these posters being torn apart, these posters being sprayed on, smeared, put to the ground, put into the trash. Recently, I was in Frankfurt for an event with our comrades there. And on one of the posters where we had put also a sticker for the event for people to come and join us and hear about us and ask questions about our program and so on. And someone had put a big sticker, a printed sticker, like, these were organized people above it, and told people that this event is canceled, right? So this is kind of in a ridiculous scale, but at the other hand, also, on the other hand, of course, also scary scale, because we've also seen what happened to the Palestine Congress and how the German state turns authoritarian very fast if it wants to. It's been hard also in terms of what we have receiving into, like, wind into our face. Of course, we will not back down. We will continue what we do, but it has been really something that we haven't experienced so far, which of course is even more reason to go against it. And we are really, really happy to do that in the umbrella of DiEM25 with our comrades in the other countries. It's giving us a lot of strength. And if anyone wants to join us, we can really need everyone's help. Meta25.de is the homepage where you can sign up, where you can order some material to your home. And I know also there was one question in the chat that got forwarded to me from someone that said that he or she is not a EU citizen or German citizen and though cannot vote. But for our organization, we first of all want to change that in the future if we can. And we don't make that difference. So you're really, really welcome to join us, to become a member of DiEM25 and Meta25. We don't care what your nationality is. And that, I think, sums up our core values very well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Johannes, for that. Indeed, the link to join is diem25.org/join, and you can be a member in just a couple of seconds. So visit the link, and you can sign up and be part of our movement. Now, we'll go back to Greece, this time with Nicholas Theokarakis. Nicholas, over to you.
Hello. First of all, I'm very pleased to see all these comrades from all over Europe. And the peculiar thing is that the mainstream parties pretend that they are European, and they are becoming increasingly nationalistic and increasingly xenophobic. And us who are opposing to this new order of things are the truly European party. But we do not believe in a Europe as we see it in front of us. This is a Europe in decline. This is a Europe that's becoming increasingly xenophobic and homophobic against the rights of the people, a Europe that is about to commit the same mistake that it did in the last century and promote war instead of peace, a Europe that does not resist the genocide that's happening in Palestine, because they think they are atoning for the atrocity of the Holocaust, of the Jews, of the Roma, of the communists, of the Soviet prisoners, of the Slavic people, of Namibia before that. So they're not atoning. What they're doing is that they are condemning another people to genocide. Also, they decided for their own reasons to adopt an economic doctrine that is toxic for people who work for a living or worked for a living. Now, this with the failures of the left, especially the social democratic parties in Germany, in England, and in other countries, in Spain and Portugal, meant that people who react to that new order of things are increasingly following the sirens, the allure, if you like, of right-wing parties, and they are becoming increasingly right-wing. Now, the funny thing is that right-wing parties and social democratic parties who became right-wing say to the European electorate, vote for us, lest the extreme right wins the election. I have two news for them. The one is that they adopt right-wing rhetoric, extreme right-wing rhetoric and measures. So there is no need for the extreme right to gain power. They won power through the mainstream parties. And the second thing is that they are those who are responsible for the rise of the extreme right. Their policies and the way they made scapegoats out of immigrants. And as a woman poet who was a refugee said, "You've turned my country into the mouth of a shark. How do you expect me to live in my country?" So the West has been responsible for what was happening in Afghanistan, in Libya, in Syria, everywhere. And then when they made their country into a huge solitude, they say, no, you cannot come to this paradise where everything outside this Garden of Eden is a jungle. But you have created the jungle. And in fact, you are increasingly create this Garden of Eden to something that is not a garden, a paradise at all. So I think what we need is to gain a foothold on the European Parliament, to be able to tell the people of Europe what those who want to be their masters have in their minds about them, expose them, annoy them, kick the living daylights out of them, and say to them, now, we know who you are, we know what your plans are, and try to change that. We're going to convince, this is my hope and my belief, the people that there is an alternative, that the left indeed has betrayed them, but we're not dead yet. And as a Greek film said, the rags are still singing, you know. So we are there, we are with the people, we are with the Palestinians, we are with the refugees. We see, for example, in Greece, there is an extreme Islamophobia. Now there is a new party who calls itself the Voice of Reason, which is in fact the voice of hatred, and saying that the Muslims are applying Sharia law, that they steal, that they rape, that they beat up their women, and things like that. Now, if you had said that some years ago, you would be imprisoned or locked up. Now, they are becoming the new voice of reason. So we would like to oppose that. We would like to speak for a new economic policy, for a new policy not only at the international level, but for the respect of the workers' right. What we saw in Greece after the memoranda was a total deregulation of the whole system of industrial relations, or, if I may express myself in better terms, a new regulation in favor of capital. The right of strike, the right to do many things has been taken away from the Greek worker. They played with the minimum wage, with the labor inspectorate. These are things that are terrifying. So we're saying that, if I may use a phrase that Antonio Gramsci wrote about 100 years ago, that we have the pessimism of the mind, but the optimism of the will, and the fact that things are getting so badly makes us to devote the last strength we have in our bodies in order to change things for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicholas. Very important points there as well. And indeed, we have to expose them and their hypocrisy. And trust me, we won't let them get away with it if you elect us to the European Parliament. And on the other thing, one thing you mentioned as well, which I thought was really interesting, and I completely agree with, is the fact that the so-called left today, I mean, not the people who vote for the left, right? Because the spectrum, public opinion is not static, it changes. But the political parties themselves that are called themselves leftist parties, like socialist parties, they're everything but socialist, right? And in some instances, they're even more right-wing than the right-wing themselves, which is quite an achievement if you think about it. But yeah, thank you very much for your intervention there. Very good points. We'll stay in Greece, but we'll stick now with Jochen Schultz, Greek German.
Yes, hello to everyone. David is right. I am German and I'm also Greek, became Greek last year, and it's my second turn to run for the European elections. I did that in 2019 too. What I have to say is that I personally am so much enjoying this Zoom today, because all these people being gathered here are, well, nearly all of them are also my personal friends. We have been working on this project since DiEM25 was founded in 2016, and we managed to have 3 MERA25 parties running for the elections. I was sort of dreaming of more, but there were always obstacles from the law in each country or obstacles like regulations and so on. And yeah, we finally managed to be present in 3 countries, and we are having the same program and the same goal. And we are, as it was said before, we are internationalists, we are transnationalists, and we are from many countries all over the world, not only Europe. And that is something which I really like a lot. And this is something which also makes this mixture so important, because if we have a voice in the European elections, in the European Parliament, we will know very well what to say, what to tell them, and we will, well, we will not be able to influence their policies, but we will be able to disturb them and to tell them what is wrong, and tell them the lies, tell the lies to you out there, to the people, and hopefully make you follow us and vote for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jochen, for that. Now we'll go over to Judith Meyer. Judith Meyer, who's been involved in Greece. I think you were still in Greece, right, Judith? Or I don't remember exactly, but maybe you can tell us. But also very active in Meta 25 Germany. So over to you, Judith.
Yeah, thank you, David. So right now I'm in Greece. I decided to spend 1 month here just before the election because of the differences in the election campaigns. You know, in Germany, we basically started in November. We announced, we have voted for our candidates, and we had to vote for our candidates in November already to have a big assembly, and then to collect signatures, and everything has a deadline. So we had to start early. And in Greece, everything is a lot more last minute. Things are coming together, but it's like a flash. It's very overpowering. As soon as you're here, the campaign is hard to miss. Also on social media, and Meta Greece has the support of a lot of people that are very famous in Greece. Obviously not the centrist people, but on the left. Going from academics like Nicholas and Serafim here, going to content creators like the most famous producer of satirical songs and so on TikTok, is one of the candidates for Meta Greece. So they really have people that people will recognize on the street. Which is a big plus, and they're doing a lot of events, like every day 2-3 events are happening that I know of, and probably even more organized by the local groups. So it's really a short but very, very powerful campaign. And as an IT person, I can also see it in our statistics on the web. We're already having 3 times as many visits as we had in June before the previous national elections. I really think that there is something going on here. In Germany, the campaign, like I said, has been more a longer campaign. It has been boiling for a longer time, and maybe less flashy, but it's also very inspiring in a different way. And that is that we have so many grassroots people, so many people reaching out, like becoming new members, asking to give out our flyers, to put up our posters. We can't print material as fast as we want to distribute it, as fast as people are asking us. They want to pick up more flyers, and we've given out so many in the past days. And it's always like, where can I find the extra flyers, and where can I get this? And people contacting us out of the blue. They want to put our flyers in the local Döner restaurant. They want to put their flyers in the local community center, especially because of Palestine, of course. This topic has really galvanized a large part of the German population. And I think that we're going somewhere big. I really believe that.
Thank you, Judith. And just to highlight that we've been receiving so many messages, all on our social media from different people in different countries asking if they can vote for Meta. Unfortunately, we're only present in 3 countries. And in the instances where I answer to people saying, "Oh, we're not in Spain, we're not in France yet," they're like, "Oh, then what would you suggest? Who do you suggest we vote for?" So there's definitely a lot of interest, and it's great to see. I hope it really translates into people going out to the polls and putting the crosses in the right places. So yeah, let's see what comes in June. But you out there, please share the word, spread the word, and hopefully we can make it to the European Parliament. Now we'll go over to Juliana, who's also very active in Meta25 Germany. And remind me of your role exactly. I don't remember, but maybe you can say it. Oh, sorry, I made a mistake. Dusan, not Juliana. Juliana is going after Dusan.
Thanks, David. I hope you can hear me. Yes, I will add up to that by saying that I'm very, very jealous of people that are living in Greece, of people that are living in Italy, and of people that are living in Germany. And I want to say that whenever I voted, I was beating myself up for voting the way I did, because I never trusted those people, and the people that live in these three countries don't really have to do that, and they can vote with their heart. And I'm really not speaking this in political terms or anything like that. Meta25 is the only party that I ever endorsed, and the only party that I would vote with this open heart and a certain hope of and excitement of hearing them in parliament, instead of being fearful what those people are going to say. Because of two reasons. First one is that even though there has been a lot of political talk, and you can maybe suggest or think that even this is quasi-political talk, but the core of our idea is that when whatever was being talked about today, there is every dot of it has a concrete step, a concrete number, and a concrete point in our program, which is very, very important. Of course, we cannot go all the way through it in 1 hour podcast, but you need to know that each one of these stands has a concrete steps and concrete economics and concrete numbers for everything that was mentioned before. You can always check that in our EU elections program, in our Green New Deal for Europe, in our manifesto, and the rest. The second thing is that you would send especially these people to the parliament with this program. Of course, you may think it's easy for me because I know these people and I trust them. I could even say that I can put my hand in the fire for them. But even those of you who don't know them should know that you don't need to trust me or them or anyone, because in DiEM25, we built a structure around the fact that you can, if you want, if you even join DiEM25 today, you can vote what their vote in the parliament is going to be. So anything that is not covered by our programs or manifests is subjected to all member votes. So you are the one to decide what these people are going to vote once they are in. And if that is not democracy, I don't know what it is. So last sentence is that don't stay home, because you will regret that probably maybe even forever, but vote these people in on the 9th of June or before, and you are going to be in control of them and to have a whole transparency over their decisions. That is something that we can vouch for.
Absolutely, Dusan. Just highlighting the international dimension of our democratic engagement within DiEM, and Meta25 as well. Thank you very much for that. We'll go over to Juliana. Juliana now. Apologies for the earlier mistake. Juliana.
Thanks, Davina. First of all, there was a question about the Greens, I think, the Green Party in Germany, and how they became like so thirsty for blood or something. Actually, to sum it up, you can go back to the last Green government that we had, like an SPD Green government. and look at the Iraq war and the support and the weapons of mass destruction, disaster, and so on. So they supported that back then very quickly, and backed the US and the UK in the war. So it's not so new, to be honest, with the Green Party, that they are supporting wars. Also, I mean, it's not surprising they are an established party that is, you know, in a position of power, and most parties who are as big as the Green Party get corrupted very easily by, you know, wanting to appeal to their voters. And we know that Germany is split over the topic on the genocide in Gaza that Israel is committing. A lot of people are in denial, and this is the people that the Green Party is appealing to. Although they have made some statements last week that are very surprisingly, you know, changing the tone a bit, but let's see where that's leading. So just on the Green Party, but what I actually wanted to talk about is two things in this campaign, two questions that we get asked often, which is, the first is, am I not kind of giving away my vote if I vote for a small party like Mera? And paired with that question comes, but okay, if you have just 1 or 2 MEPs, you cannot change any policy. So would my vote not be wasted on you? And I think I'd like to answer that because I think it's a very important question. The first thing about who to give your vote to, and I have a very clear opinion on that. I think if you have the alternative, if you look at all the parties and you're thinking about either giving your vote to a new party, which you like, which you support fully, or say, well, if my vote is wasted, what is the alternative? Is to give your vote to a party that has had already the chance at some point in time. Either it's the Social Democrats in Germany, or the Greens, or even the Left Party. You have a history with those parties. You know they have messed up. It's a bit like saying, should I give this new person a chance that I know just a little time, or should I go back to my ex who's beating me? You know, maybe he will stop. It's a bit, I think you waste your vote if you vote for something you know is harmful to you. If you make the same experiment all over again, and not realize that democracy can only function in your favor if you actually vote for something that is good for you, good for the environment, you know, good for peace. So I think you are not wasting your vote if you're voting for a new party, for a small party, if you are in line with the program and the people representing that party. And also on the point of what does it help to have 1 or 2 MEPs in the parliament, is I think we have to remind ourselves that change is kind of, if it's real and sustainable change, that it is a long journey. The fascists are like, we will come to power and we will change everything in an instant. And that's a lie, because you cannot do that. There are certain things that need to be done now, like stopping a genocide is something that we need to pressure for it to happen now. But the huge change is coming over time. And for us to be, as a Mera 25 in Germany, for example, but also in other countries, to start in a parliament, even with 1 or 2 MEPs, is the beginning of a journey, is the beginning of change already. Because that means, A, that we have a platform, we can fight in the parliament, we can fight also through the movement, but we also get funding, you know, we can get bigger as a party and have more people in the party. So yeah, so giving the vote to any Mera in any country would mean to support the mission as a whole. It's not just about what's happening at election day. It's really looking at the bigger picture, at the change we want to bring over time. And it's not going to happen in a year or 2. So for us in the left, it's a long journey, but I think it's worth the try. So to everyone in those countries where you can vote, please vote Mera and don't fear that your vote is wasted, because it's really not. So thank you.
Thank you, Juliana, for the very passionate speech. I think it's really crucial indeed. And yeah, you know, if you live in one of our countries where we have parties, do vote for Meta. It will make a big difference. Now we've just come to the top of the hour. We have two last comments from two of our speakers, and then we will close. But I'll just give the word now to Evie from Greece as well, and then we'll go to Serafim, and then I will close. Evie.
Good evening from me as well. I would like just to add to what Liliana just said. The answer to the question why to vote for Mera 25, because we are not few, we are a lot. It's time to join our voices and show our power. I do not agree that we expect to remain a small party. I think we have much more power than what we believe right now. So, thank you.
Thank you, Evie, and also for keeping it short. We'll go to Serafim. Serafim?
Yes, really short. The first thing is that it's very inspiring to be part of an international organization. Let me remind everyone that a left cannot be a left unless it's internationalist, especially nowadays. The first international was the first thing Marx and Engels did when they got serious about putting their ideas into practice. Going back to this key question, why should we vote for Mera? Someone asked the question I saw in the chat. The comrades mentioned all the ideas. I just want to highlight 2 points. One is the program, the things we are fighting for. Of course, we didn't have time to go in detail, but look at our program. What do we mean by green transition? What do we mean by migrant rights? The analysis we conduct, how we understand and approach the basic income, our vision for the future, for a genuine democracy, for workers' rights. Very few parties come up with a concrete vision about the future, what we're fighting for. And everybody mentioned, more than 1 or 2 comments mentioned the disarray the left is currently found in. Social democracy is dissipating. It's become the radical center. We no longer have the Euro-communists, and we have the sects, the lefts. We haven't got a serious left. Of course, we are trying to enter the European Parliament in order to annoy them, to expose them, to make it difficult to them. This is our basic slogan here in Greece as well. But how we're going to do that, and this is our long-term goal, by building a serious left. This is the task. So vote for us, because if we perform well in the European election, this is going to be crucial in our long-term project to build a serious left, which we need in the present time more than ever before. Thank you.
Thank you, Serafim, for those words. And indeed, we're coming to a close, but I just wanted to leave with a couple of comments. First of all, we are fighting, as you've heard here tonight, everybody watching on YouTube, we are fighting for Europe where the wealth generated by the many is shared fairly, not hoarded by the few. We are fighting for a Europe that tackles the climate crisis head on, creating millions of green jobs and ensuring a just transition for all workers. We advocate for digital sovereignty to protect our data and privacy from corporate exploitation and state surveillance. We stand for a Europe that protects refugee rights and has humane policies that uphold the dignity of every single human being on earth, regardless of where they come from. We are committed to dismantling the austerity regime that has crippled our economies and impoverished our citizens everywhere. When we call for a democratic overhaul of the European institutions, bringing power back to the people and ensuring that decisions affecting millions are made transparently and democratically. Our mission is really to break the stranglehold of lobbyists and big business on European politics and to create a truly social Europe that works for everyone, or should I say for the 99%. So if you believe in what we've said here tonight, if you believe in what I've just summarized, please join us, dm25.org/join. In 2 minutes, you can, or even less, you can be a member and participate in this, in our movement so that we can make a real difference and revive and bring back and build what the left should have always been and has forgotten to become. So lastly, thank you to our panel. Thank you for you out there for watching. And on June 9th, just another reminder, please make your voice heard. It will make a difference. But in the meantime, take care.